Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 12 of the Rico and Declan College Football Show. I'm your host, Rico. Declan is sleeping. He did wake up earlier, so I got to keep an eye on that. We had to end episode 11 abruptly. We were supposed to cover Kansas State and Baylor to close out the episode. So we're going to cover those teams tonight. We're also going to cover Arizona, Arizona State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and I think there's one more. Let me look at my list here. Yeah, so that's it. So we have Kansas State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Arizona, and Arizona State. So those are the 6 teams that we have to cover tonight. Looking forward to it. Let's talk about some college football news. The NCAA has changed the eligibility requirements for players. I'm going to read off what was said. This was released today. So this is from Andrea Adelson, ESPN. NCAA Division I Cabinet okays 5-year age-based eligibility. The NCAA Division I Cabinet unanimously approved a new 5-year age eligibility model on Tuesday. Under this rule, athletes in all sports will be given 5 years of eligibility over 5 seasons once their college eligibility clock begins. The clock starts upon initial full-time enrollment in college or the beginning of the academic year following their 19th birthday, whichever occurs first. It's to eliminate the need for red shirts and waivers, which have drawn scrutiny in recent years as athletes have sued the NCAA challenging eligibility rules. Athletes who had just completed their 4th season of eligibility without a red shirt would not be granted an additional year. Schools will have flexibility of determining whether to use previous eligibility rules or the new age-based model for athletes with eligibility remaining after the 2025-2026 academic year. Prospects who graduated in the spring of 2026 will use the age-based model. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I think that it's ridiculous because, 5 years of eligibility, that's just too much. Why don't we just keep it at 4? I'm certainly not a fan of it. I don't know if everyone heard about the news with Brendan Sorsby. The NFL supplemental draft is not happening. So for him to be eligible, quote unquote, for as being a prospect would be the 2027 NFL draft, which is next year. So he's pretty much screwed, rightfully so. He screwed over Texas Tech. He was trying to screw over the whole college football landscape by his antics. So he deserves what he's getting. I have no sympathy for him. NC State, Virginia game still in week 0. I reported about this. This game was originally set in Sao Paulo or Rio de Janeiro. It was supposed to be in Rio de Janeiro, and then it got relocated over to let's see, is it in Raleigh or Charlottesville? It's going to be in Charlottesville. The teams have originally agreed to have a home-and-home non-conference series, which wouldn't count in the ACC standings since games were added outside the league scheduling model after multiple waves of expansion, which is a total load of BS. I mean, these two teams are both in the ACC. I don't understand why they are saying, oh, we're not going to count it to the league standings. It's so stupid. You're both in the same conference. Count it to the conference record. It's ridiculous. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go right into the previews here. So we're going to start off by previewing Kansas State. Kansas State is being led by Colin Klein. He was previously the offensive coordinator over at Texas A&M. Wildcat legend. He was a Heisman finalist back in 2012. I believe it was 2012. And I saw him play live against West Virginia. He killed us. It was a Saturday night game. Him and TJ Lockett, they just destroyed West Virginia. And that game was over by the first half. I don't have a good memory about it because it was such a bad game for us. All right, so they're led by Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson, he had a great freshman year, and then, or was it his sophomore season? Let me look at his stats. It was his sophomore year. So his sophomore year, as you can see, he had 25 touchdowns to 10 picks. He threw for 2,712 yards. Last season, he regressed. He only threw for 2,385 yards. He had 18 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. His big problem was consistency. That completion rate is not that good at 59%. He has to improve on that. He was a 58% completion for passer back in 2024. And then in the beginning of the season, too, when they played against Iowa State in Dublin, his father and his brother, they got into a brawl with one another after the game, which was very odd. They were both drunk, just acting like idiots. So with him, I don't know if he's going to play really well or if he's going to play really bad. His whole game is about being consistency or consistent. He had 477 rush yards last season. He had 605 the year before. He is fully capable of having a nice season, but his problem is staying healthy and staying consistent. And the thing is with Kansas State last season, what I noticed in the games I've watched, their offensive line was not that great. And the completions, look at this, man. Not that good if you look at these stats. He played all right against Iowa State to start off the season. He wasn't the reason why they lost. They lost because their defense wasn't that good. So I think he can definitely bounce back. I think Colin Klein is a huge addition to them. I think he's definitely going to mold him into a better passer. Their running back is Joe Jackson. He's a junior. He had a nice season at 911 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns. So he's going to get a lot of carries. He's a decent back, probably one of the more underrated backs in the Big 12. Rodney Fields Jr., he's coming from Oklahoma State. And he did not do that bad with the Cowboys, so he's going to get better opportunity with the Wildcats. Jerron Tibbs, he's coming back for his senior year. Tibbs is their leading receiver. He had 595 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Again, a guy that needs to be more consistent. He has good size. Josh Manning. So they have a lot of transfers in their wide receiver portal. Played okay for Mizzou. This is a guy who could definitely be an asset in their offense. Derek Sally. He's coming from Hutchinson Community College, so he's a JUCO transfer. We'll see how that goes. Isaiah Williams, he's in the slot. He's coming from Texas A&M. Could definitely get a better opportunity with the Wildcats. Brandon White is another transfer. He's coming from Hawaii. He had decent numbers for the Rainbow Warriors. And let's look at their tight ends. Garrett Oakley's coming back for his senior year. Oakley's underrated. He's been there for a while. And he's progressed every season. So he's a guy that is one of the better targets for Avery Johnson. Like I said before, I really like the running backs are decent for them. Oh, it's one of their offensive linemen. Offensive linemen I don't analyze because there's no stats. Maybe you can see it. I mean, if you want to do a deep dive of offensive linemen to see if they give up sacks or not, you can look up that information on your own. Lincoln Cure, so he's going to be the backup tight end. I like their offense, especially these transfers they got. They got a couple new additions. Their defense has a lot of transfers, especially look at their secondary. A lot of transfers. So anything in orange is a transfer. Wendell Gregory, he's coming from Oklahoma State. So they have 2 Oklahoma State transfers. He had 4 sacks last season and a forced fumble. That's not bad for a Cowboys team that was really bad last season. And they fired Mike Gundy. Kamari Burns, he's a nose tackle. He had half a sack. He's coming from Cincinnati, another Big 12 rival. So they got a couple Big 12 guys who are familiar with the conference. I like that better than having JUCO transfers like West Virginia has. Jaden Bryant, he had 2 sacks. He's coming from Coastal Carolina. 6'4", 235. That's good size. Austin Ramsey, he has good size as well, coming from Kentucky, but he didn't play at all, so we'll see how he does. Defensive tackle Travis Bates. He had 2 sacks, not bad. Darion Hicks, coming from Gardner-Webb. Jordan Allen, he had 2.5 sacks. Their defense was okay last season, but at times played terribly. Elijah Hill, he had 9 sacks. He's coming from Kennesaw State, which is a lesser conference, obviously. But you know what? 9 sacks is pretty good. And again, not a JUCO transfer. Also, Newsom. No, my mouse is terrible. I got to get a better mouse. Also, Newsom, he did not play that much last season, so he's going to be relied upon more so this season as a junior. Jacoby Ofulfat Jr., nothing really much about him. He's a transfer from Oklahoma State. They got a lot of guys from the Big 12. Mekhi Mason, he's a middle linebacker. He had 3.5 sacks. He's another transfer. Darian Whitaker. Zyshawn Rich. He had 11 pass deflections. That's impressive. You got to get more picks, though. I only had 1 pick. Adrian Maddox. He's coming from Georgia. Didn't play much there. He was also transferred from UAB and Alabama State. So this guy's been all over. We'll see how he, pans out. Logan Bradley. Nothing much about him. Coy Beasley. That name sounds familiar. He's coming from Miami, Ohio. He had 6 pass deflections and 1 pick. Michael Graham. Another guy from a JUCO school, Hutchinson Community College. They have another guy from that school. Caleb Patterson. He's coming from Illinois. He was also JUCO transfer before that. Donovan McIntosh. He had 5 pass deflections and 1 pick. Good size for a corner at 6'3". So we'll see if he becomes a starter or not. Jason Prevert. He's coming from Virginia. He had a nice season for the Cavaliers with 3 picks and 5 pass deflections. 6'2". He's got good size for a corner or nickelback. And then the last one is Jack Farbus. He probably won't play much. My apologies. I like their roster. I think their roster is kind of middle of the pack, though, in terms of talent. in the Big 12. I don't think they're at the same caliber as BYU or Texas Tech. But let's look at their schedule. And again, the way I looked at the teams last night, before I go over that, I had Texas Tech at 11-1, West Virginia at 3-9, Cincinnati at 4-8, BYU at 10-2. I really think it's going to be between BYU and Texas Tech for that conference. So looking at the Wildcats' schedule, I really like Colin Klein. I wish that West Virginia had him instead of Rich Rod. I was talking to my friend Amit. Amit, he covered West Virginia football and West Virginia sports when we went to school together from 2010 to 2014. Great friend of mine. He knows his stuff. And one of these days, I'm going to probably get him on this podcast. He collaborates with another podcast that I follow that covers West Virginia. But anyways, I was talking to him this past morning, and I even said to him, I was like, I wish we had Colin Klein over Rich Rod. I love Rich Rod. He did a lot for West Virginia before I even came to the school. But I think his glory is past. It's in the past, man. Like, Colin Klein is the new deal. He's going to be really good for Kansas State, and he could build them up. I don't know about this season, but in the future, he can definitely bring them back to success. But looking at their schedule, it's pretty favorable. They versed Nichols to start off the season. That's a home game. I'm going to pick Kansas State, so they're 1-0. Versus Washington State in our home game, I'm going to pick them again, 2-0. Versus Tulane, I got to look at Tulane's roster, but without Summerall, I think they're not going to be the same team. They lost a lot of guys to the transfer portal. Again, it's a home game for Kansas State. I'll pick Kansas State. Avery Johnson, look for him to bounce back. He's the key to the Wildcats season. If he has a good season, they could definitely be a middle of the pack, maybe the top three in that conference, going toe-to-toe with Texas Tech and BYU. So I have it at 3-0. At Cincinnati, I'm trying to remember what I picked in terms of that game. I think I picked Kansas State. I think Cincinnati is a little bit weak. I didn't like their roster compared to Kansas State, so I'm going to go and pick Kansas State in this one, so they're 4-0. Versus Houston, I will have them win that game 5-0. Versus Kansas, 6-0. They'll probably get ranked after that Kansas game. At Arizona State, I'm going to say that's a loss, and so they're 6-1. At Colorado, I'm going to say that's a win, so they're 7-1. Versus Oklahoma State, I think that's going to be a loss, 7-2. At TCU, I'm going to pick that as a loss as well, 7-3. Versus Arizona, I'm going to pick that as a win, 8-4, I forgot what I picked in on there. So that's a win. And then at Iowa State, I got to look at Iowa State's roster, but they lost a lot of guys to the transfer portal. Basically, Matt Campbell brought a bunch of guys from that roster from last season over to Penn State. I'm going to pick Kansas State in this one. So looking at this record, I have them going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have them going 9-3. I think that they are fully capable of going 9-3. The thing about them, though, is it all comes down to how does Avery Johnson play. If he's consistent, they can easily win 10 games. They can win 9 games. But if he's not, and we see a repeat of last season, they could go 7-5, maybe 6-6. There are a lot of winnable games when you look at that schedule. Hang on one second. I'm going to put that on my notes for their record. So I have them going at 9-3. I don't think that's far-fetched. I think Colin Klein is the real deal. I think he's going to be a candidate for Big 12 Coach of the Year. You could definitely make an argument about it because they regressed last season, and I think Avery Johnson is definitely better than what he showed from us last season. And Joe Jackson's a good running back. He's underrated. Their wide receivers they're okay, but they're better than most teams in the Big 12. The games I think they're going to have trouble at TCU. I think Arizona could be a little bit of a scare for them, but it's at Kansas State. So that's why I picked the Wildcats in that one. Not Arizona, but Kansas State, because they both have the same name. That's a pretty annoying concept about the Big 12, is some of these teams have the same name. Like Houston has the Cougars, BYU has the Cougars, and then Kansas State and Arizona both share the same name, Wildcats. It's so dumb. Come up with original names, guys. But there's games that they should definitely win. They should beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati's roster is very weak. Houston's not a good team either. I think they're middle of the pack. Kansas is not great. Arizona State, I think they're going to lose that game because it's at Arizona State. Colorado, I think, is one of the weaker teams in the conference. And then Iowa State, they lost a bunch of guys to the transfer portal. So you should win that game, but we'll see. But yeah, I think they could definitely go 9-3. That's not far fetched. All right, enough about Kansas State. Let's go on to Baylor, the Baylor Bears, who I was surprised that they brought back their coach. I think that Dave Arnada, he's a decent coach. He had a couple good seasons, and lately the last couple years have not gone his way. And I don't know, man. They're kind of mid. Let's analyze DJ Lagway. I think Lagway's overrated. I think that when he played at Florida, he was so inconsistent. He had some really bad games. He had one game where he threw 5 picks. So, and that was against who? Was it against it was against LSU. I was right. That's what I figured. And so he can show flashes of greatness, but other times he can be very lazy. His completion rate is not bad. 63%, that's decent. But he has to cut off the interceptions. There's so many picks, man. 14 picks. If you throw 10 or more picks as a QB, that's a problem. So I just don't know if he can play up to what he was potentially supposed to be at Florida. He was a 5-star recruit. It just didn't work out there. And he was smart enough to get out of there while he could. And it's funny how Napier got fired and then Lagway also left as well. He had shown flashes of greatness against Mississippi State, Texas A&M. He played decent. Texas, he held his own, and he won that game for them. But I don't think he's a dual threat QB. That was one of the things that people were saying when he got, recruited. He was a potential dual threat QB, but you look at his rush yards, it's not there. He's more of a pocket passer. So yeah, I don't know what to expect out of him. I know his dad played for Baylor, and so he's familiar with the campus. So maybe that will help him. And you know what? It's less pressure to play in the Big 12 than the SEC. It's definitely less pressure to play for Baylor compared to Florida. Let's be real, guys. So yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out for him. So I give him a QB rating of out of a A through F rating, I give him a C minus. They have Dawson Pendergrass coming back. Pendergrass, he was hurt last season, and then the season before that he had 671 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns. He had 1 receiving touchdown. That's a question mark if you're bringing back a QB. I mean, if you're bringing back a running back who missed the season before because of injury. Caden Knighton, he's a sophomore. He played okay. Not a lot of carries, but decent amount of yards, 1 touchdown. And then Michael Turner. Is he related to Michael Turner from back in the day? I don't think so. He might be. But, yeah, their running backs are weak, man. I don't think that's going to work out for them. Let's look at the receivers. Lewis Brown, the 4th. Okay numbers. I don't think he's a number 1. Ashton Jones. He's a redshirt freshman, 6'5", 205. Maybe they could go and get him going. He should be the number one receiver compared to Lewis Brown. Draylon Miller, okay numbers. They're going to be a pass-first offense. You know that for a fact. Taz Williams Jr. didn't do much. They have some transfers. Their offensive line looks different. Gavin Freeman, he's decent in the slot, 5'9", 189. Not a big guy. Jaden Porter, okay numbers. Let's look at their tight ends. I think their offense is weak. Tony Livingston, he's coming from Florida, so he does have familiarity with Lagway, so maybe that will help. And then the other tight end is Matthew Klopofitson. I think that's how you say it. It's definitely a German name. Okay numbers. Let's look at their defense. I think their offense is weak. It doesn't really stand out, and I think Lagway is a question mark in himself. They have a lot of transfers on defense. Jordan Mack, he's a defensive end. Jordan Mack was one of the most. Actually, I'm getting confused with someone else. He's got good size, 6'5", 281. Xavion Hardy. Nothing much about him. Yeah, their defense is weak. Hosa Willer. Devontae Tiesno. He had 1 sack. Their defense was terrible last season. I watched a couple of their games. A lot of games went into shootouts. But they also had a better QB. Cameron Washington, 1 sack. They don't really have a defensive line. It's very weak. Jamal Wass, 2.5 sacks. That's okay. He played for Marshall, Sun Belt team. Garrett Ponder, coming from Southern Mississippi. He had 3.5 sacks. That's all right. Ryan Davis, he's coming from Kansas State. He had 4 sacks. That's all right. For a bad Wildcat team, that's decent. Kylan Reed. Much about him. He had 1 forced fumble. That's not much to say. Travion Barnes. He's from FIT, 1 sack. That's not saying much. Kendrick Walker. LeVar Farden, the junior. 1 interception, 7 pass deflections. He should have more picks. He's 6'3". No excuse. Come on, man. Calvin Simpson Hunt. Much about him. Kobe McAllister. He's coming from Kansas State. Didn't play last season. I don't know if he was hurt, if he redshirted. Not much to go by. Their secondary is very weak. Devin Turner. Another guy that transferred. He last played at Northwestern in 2024. See, he has decent numbers. He might be the starter, actually. But he's probably coming off of injury, if I had to assume. Jacob Redding. 3 interceptions. Okay, that's decent. 6'1", 200 pounds. That's a good size for a safety. Tyler Turner. He's coming from Oregon. Didn't do much for the Ducks. Devin Jordan. He's coming from Oklahoma, but again, didn't do much. Jaden Rowe. Nothing much. And last but not least, Daniel Cobbs. Okay, he had decent numbers for Kansas State. So when I look at this roster, nobody jumps out to me. I think they're very mid. I think they have a better roster than Cincinnati, but that's not saying much. Let's look at their schedule here. And I think if Arnada, if he has a bad season again, he's going to get fired. I was surprised he didn't get fired last season. They were very underachieving last year. No defense. All right, so let's look at their schedule here. They versus Auburn. That's an ABC game. I am very shocked that's an ABC game because Auburn, I would have to assume they're not going to be ranked. I think Auburn's one of the most underrated teams, not just in the SEC, but in the nation. I can see Auburn destroying Baylor. I know it's a home game for Baylor, but DJ Lagway is not that good. And Auburn has all these transfers coming from USF. I think Golesh is a better coach than Arnada. So give me Auburn and what could be a potential blowout. So I got them at 0-1. Prairie View A&M, they should win that game. That's another home game. So I have them at 1-1. Louisiana Tech. I'm going to shock people here. Non-conference game. I don't like this roster. Give me Louisiana Tech, man. Give me Louisiana Tech. I just don't see it with this team. So they're going to be 1-2. Versus Colorado, that's a game that they should win 2-2 because Colorado's terrible. They'll lose against Arizona State because it's at Arizona State, 2-3. They'll lose against TCU, 2-4. At Kansas, this is a battle of the worst teams, some of the worst teams in the Big 12. Give me Kansas. So they're 2-5. I think Arnada's going to get fired midseason. I just don't think they're going to be good. At UCF, I got to look at UCF's roster. I'm going to analyze them either tomorrow or Thursday. It's at UCF. Give me the Golden Knights, man. So that's a loss. Versus Iowa State, I think they'll win that game because it's a home game. At BYU, that's a loss. Versus Texas Tech, that's a loss. And then at Houston, I think that's a loss. So I have them penciled down for, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have them going 4-8 because I think UCF is going to beat them. I just don't like this roster. And like I said before, I was shocked that Arnada got another shot to coach another season for them. I think he should have got fired last season. They have no defense. They don't have an offense. They're going to be really pass happy, but DJ Lagway is not the guy. He tried to be the guy in Florida, and you saw how that went. The guy is he's mid at best. Like, yes, his completion percentage is good, but he throws a lot of interceptions. He makes a lot of mistakes in crucial points in games, and I just don't think he's that good. It didn't work out in Florida. It's not going to work out with Baylor. He also recently said, I think he said that he was like addicted to Chipotle. He was going to Chipotle and not practicing, or like he got lazy and complacent. Dude, just don't go to Chipotle. Just play. And I don't know, man. I think there's just higher expectations with Florida. I know it is a better school in terms of football compared to Baylor. It's got way more history than Baylor will ever have. But he's not the guy. He's not the guy, and he's not going to be the guy in Baylor. I just don't see it working out. So I got them going, what do I have them going at? 4-8? Let's see. I'm going to count them again. Sorry, guys. Win against Prairie View. Win against Colorado. Win against Kansas. Yeah, I think I have them at 3-9 or 4-8. Let me do this over again. So I have them losing against Auburn. I have them being Prairie View. I have them losing against Louisiana Tech. I have them being Colorado. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, because I have them beating Iowa State. Let me do this over again. Sorry. 1, 2. Wait, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I got them going 4-8. I don't like their roster at all. I think they're better than West Virginia. That's not saying much. All right, next up, we got. Yeah, I'm going to analyze, I think, Oklahoma State next because they're a sleeper. I don't think they're going to win the Big 12, but don't be surprised if they go 9-3, 8-4. I got to look at their schedule, but I really like this roster. Type this in. So we got 2 teams down. Again, we have Baylor at 4-8, Kansas State at 9-3. All right, so Eric Morris left North Texas for the Cowboys, and I think he made a right choice. It's a better program in terms of what he can do with this team, getting recruits in the NIL. And there is a lot of history with Oklahoma State. Look at this roster. These are all transfers, and most of them are coming from North Texas with Morris. And this is the guy I'm going to talk about a lot. Drew Mestemaker, I think he's one of the best QBs in the nation. If you have not watched him, go watch him. I saw a couple of North Texas's games. Yes, they played in a weaker conference. They played in the American Conference. But nonetheless, he stood out. 34 touchdowns to 9 picks. He had a great completion percentage at 68%, really 69% when you round it up. He had 34 touchdowns to 9 picks, 4,379 yards. He led the nation in passing. This guy is a stud, and I think he's going to regress a little bit because he's going to a better conference. But I do think he's a better QB than most QBs in this conference. Do I think he's better than Brockmeyer? Do I think he's better than Will Hammond? Yes. A resounding yes. I think he is the best QB in the Big 12. His talent around him is oh so amazing. Let's go over the running backs. Caleb Hawkins is one of the best running backs in the nation. He had 1,434 yards rushing and 25 touchdowns to lead the nation. He also had 32 receptions for 370 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he had 29 touchdowns in total. This guy is a stud. He's also a big bag at 6 feet, 219. So they have a dynamic 1-2 punch with a great QB and a great running back. They also have AU Adaye, he got transferred over from JMU. Decent numbers. He rushed for 1,000 yards his freshman year. And then they have Trey Page III. Don't know much about him. He's coming from Tarleton State. 5'8", 184. So we'll see how he does. Next up, we have Justin Bowick. He's coming from Illinois. Decent numbers for the Fighting Illini. So he could be a number one target for Mestamaker. Ronnie Harris, the third or second. He's coming from Ohio. They got some good, transfers. Terrence Lewis. He's another North Texas guy. He's definitely going to get his reps in. Wyatt Young. He was Mestamaker's favorite target with 1,264 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns. Kind of reminds me of the old Texas wide receiver Jordan Shipley. They have that connection. So we'll see how he performs in the Big 12, but I really like Wyatt Young's game. Israel Polk, another guy coming from Akron. Really good numbers. Their receivers stand out, man. And then you have a great running back in Hawkins and Adaye, will compliment him. This team is going to surprise some people. Chris Barnes, he's coming from Wake Forest, decent numbers. He's going to be good in the slot. Miles Coleman, also from North Texas, he had okay numbers. He's a fast guy. They're gonna air it out a lot. It's going to be a very good air raid offense for the Cowboys here. And Janai Weir. And then their tight ends, Donovan Green. I think he came from LSU. Didn't play much over there. But he'll get a better opportunity with the Cowboys. 6'3" at 238. That's good size. Oscar Hammond. He, too, is coming from North Texas. So their offense I really like. I really like the transfers they got. All talented guys, most of them from North Texas. Let's look at their defense. Jaleel Johnson, he's returning. Didn't do much last season, didn't play much. Malik Charles, he had 3 sacks, so he'll be a good guy on that defensive line. Sadiq Clements, he had 1.5 sacks. He is a junior. Fadafaye Villet. Okay, numbers. Dominic Macon, coming from Washington. Nothing about him. Jerry Lawson. He's coming from Louisville. Had half of a sack. Definitely going to get more of an opportunity. Ine White. Coming from Penn State. 1 sack. He'll get more of an opportunity. Braylon Rigsby. He's coming from Texas Tech. James Williams. If this lets me load it. He's a senior, 1.5 sacks. He was a Florida State transfer. That's crazy. Kevin Huddleston. 5 sacks for North Texas. Billy Walton, the third. 2 sacks coming from SMU. There's talent, man. Even Wowowski. My apologies, guys. This computer is so annoying. I gotta get a new one. Wazlewski. He's coming from North Texas. He had 59 solo tackles, but in total he had 113. This guy is going to be a leader in their defense. He is basically their QB on defense. I would say he's one of the best defenders on their team. Tate Romney. He's coming from ASU. I'll preview ASU after this. Isaiah Chisholm. Coming from UCLA, didn't do much. He had two forced fumbles. That's not bad. Trip White, he had 1 sack. He's returning from last season. Let's look at the corners. LaDainian Fields. Voice here. He had 2 interceptions. Not bad, not bad. Good size, too, 6'1". Colin Lewis. He, too, is a North Texas transfer. He had 2 picks last season. Evan Jackson, also a North Texas transfer, 2 picks, 2 pass deflections. Their defense, North Texas, last season was okay. Didn't play good against Tulane when I watched them in the American Conference Championship game. And they also didn't play good against USF. They struggled in that game as well. That was a Friday night game. Messenmaker didn't play good in that game either. Did I cover? Yeah, I did. Mose Phillips III. He's coming from Missouri. Didn't play much for them, I guess. Vincent Holmes. He's coming from Washington. Didn't do much. And then we got Mo Horn. He's coming from Texas Tech. He had 3 pass deflections. And last but not least, Quentin Hammonds. He's also coming from North Texas. He had 2 interceptions. I will cover one more guy, Christian Baudelaire. He's coming from Liberty. He had 2 pass deflections. So, a lot of transfers, but they don't have any JUCO guys. And I think they got some solid ones. They got a guy from Penn State. They got everybody from North Texas. I really like this roster. I really do. And I think it's going to shock some people. Morris is a good coach, too. So let's go over their schedule. Last season was one to forget for the Oklahoma State faithful. They were one of the worst teams in the Big 12. So they start off against Tulsa on the road. I'm picking Oklahoma State. Even though it's a road game, I'll pick OK State. So they're 1-0. Versus Oregon. As much as I would love to pick Oklahoma State in this one and upset, Oregon is one of the best teams in the country and probably one of the better teams in the Big Ten. Give me the Ducks. So I have them at 1-1. I just don't see a scenario where they beat Oregon. I think it's going to be a tough game for Oregon. I think it's going to be a close game, but give me the Ducks. So they're 1-1. And last season it was funny too. I was so stupid. I picked Oklahoma State to go into Oregon, go into Eugene last season to beat Oregon, and Oregon destroyed them. They beat him I think it was 65-10 or something, some crazy score like that. They destroyed them. The game was not even close. It was over by the first half. All right, so they're 1-1 versus Murray State. That's a win. So they're 2-1 versus my Mountaineers. I think it's going to be a okay game, but give me Oklahoma State, man. I just don't think we're good. And they have a way better roster than ours. That's the whole thing. I analyze these rosters, and if I'm impressed by you, you're going to win more games. So that's a win. So I have them at 3-1. Versus UCF, that's a win. 4-1. At Houston, this is a game that they should win. I can see this being a night game. But Houston doesn't really have a fan base. They have one of the weaker, support groups or fan groups in the nation. I mean, heck, West Virginia went into Houston and beat them. Why not Oklahoma State? Give me the Cowboys in that one. So now they're at 5-1 versus Colorado. That's a win, 6-1. At Iowa State, that's a win. So they're 7-1. At Kansas State, I think I picked Kansas State to win that game, so 6-2 or 7-2. I got to double check here. Versus Texas Tech. I think when I did the preview, I picked Oklahoma State to win that game. I got to double check here. Hang on one second. Because I had Texas Tech going 11-1, and I'm trying to think of who I picked to beat them. Yeah, I still like the Texas Tech roster, despite the fact they don't have Sorsby anymore. Yeah, I think I picked Oklahoma State to win that game. So give me Oklahoma State in that game too against Texas Tech because it's a home game. At Arizona State, I'll say that's a loss for them, and then versus Kansas, that's a win. So let's count up the losses here. I got them losing against Oregon. I have them losing against Kansas State and Arizona State. So I got them going 9-3. I think that's realistic. I think they're going to shock a lot of people. Do I think they're a playoff team? No. I think they're just going to miss the cut. If the playoff was 24 teams, yes, I think they would be deserving of that. But since it's at its current format, they're not at that level as much as Texas Tech or BYU. And it's going to be interesting with the committee. Are they going to go and have more teams from the ACC or the Big 12? Honestly, I think the ACC is a little bit better of a conference. I have a couple teams going 10 wins or 9 wins in that conference. I think this team is fully capable of going 9-3. If everything plays out perfectly, if Mestamaker plays to the same level or sort of to the same level as last season, they can easily win 10 games. They're going to have their troubles. They're going to struggle against Oregon. I don't see them winning that game. And, sorry, there's like a fly or bug trying to fly on me. So annoying. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting with their roster. I really like the transfers they got. They have a lot of talent on their transfer portal. The whole thing about them is their defense. Their defense was so bad last season. It got embarrassed so many times. So if the defense could play a smidge better than last season, yeah, they can fully win. They're fully capable of winning 8 or 9 wins. So I got them going 9-3. I don't think that's far-fetched. And I think Morris or Colin Klein, I would give it to Colin Klein, but I think Morris or Colin Klein are the two favorites to win the Big 12 Coach of the Year. I think they're going to be very well deserving of that position. All right, so now we're going to analyze Arizona State. So I liked Arizona State last season, and they disappointed me. They were not good at all. They had so many situations arise. For instance, their QB, he wanted out midseason. And that was the problem with them, is like if you have – I'm looking at their QB depth chart. Yeah, Sam Levitt. I was blanking on names. So Sam Levitt, he wanted out, and that was a huge distraction. And then the backup wasn't that good, and their defense wasn't that good. So I don't know what to think about them. I like Kenny Dillingham. I think he's a great coach, but they have to play better than last season. They have to. I don't know, man. They got to do something. And I don't know if 2024 was a fluke season. I don't think it was. I think they just had a lot of talent, and then they lost that talent. I mean, Jordan Tyson's gone. He went to the draft. Like I said before, Sam Levitt, he transferred over to LSU. There's a lot of new guys in this roster. I got to check out their roster. So their QB, it's going to be between Mikey Keene and Cutter Boley. I don't know if they've named a star just yet. But looking at the stats, Cutter Boley, he played at Kentucky. Look at these stats. His completion percentage is good at 66%, but he had 12 picks. So, and if I look at his stats against premier SEC teams, he didn't play well against Vandy for a lot of yards, but he also threw for 2 picks, and he had That was a big problem. Played decent against Florida. Played good against Tennessee, but Tennessee had no defense last season. That was probably his best game, honestly. But let me see. Is he a dual threat? No, not really. He's got good size, 6'5", 213. But I don't know, man. I don't know if he's a good QB or not. I don't really watch Kentucky games. I can't, give you my opinion about him really. And then Mikey Keene, he's coming from Michigan, but he played at Fresno State and Central Florida. There's not been much to go by. He didn't play last season, so he was the backup. Yeah, I don't know. Cutter Boley's decent, but can you rely on him to win a lot of games? I don't know, man. Kyson Brown, he's listed as a starter, which is interesting. Didn't really do much last season. Demarius Robinson, I think they're running back left, either transferred or got drafted. Yeah, running backs, they're weak. They're going to be a pass-first offense probably. Jason Brown. Maybe he can emerge as a star. I think their running back position is up for grabs. Reed Harris. He's coming from Boston College. I like Reed Harris. I actually covered him when we went over the transfer portal. I think he's decent. Jalen Moss, coming from Fresno State. Decent numbers. Actually, he wasn't a transfer last season. Amarion Miller. He's coming from Colorado. I like Miller's game. I think he's one of the better receivers in the Big 12. So Miller and Harris, they could be a good 1-2 punch with Boley throwing over to them, but we'll see. Jaron Hamilton, nothing much to go by. Raiden Vines Bright. He's coming from Washington, okay numbers. And then their tight ends. That's the whole key. Miller and Harris are good receivers. They're not bad. Kamari Anderson. Kentucky from a year ago. And then AJ Ott. Yeah, I think their offense is okay. I like Miller and Harris. I like them a lot. But the QB Boley, I'm not sure about. Let's look at their defense. They play a 4-2-5. And Marion Winston is coming from Baylor. 3 sacks last season. That's not bad. Roman Petrier. Much about him. CJ Fitt. 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. Blazin Long Wong. 4'2", He's got good size. Zach Swanson. Didn't do much. Yeah, the front 7 is weak. Mikael Gardner, coming from Oregon. Jalen Thompson, coming from Michigan State. He had 2.5 sacks, not bad with Sparty. Clayton Smith, he had 4 sacks last season, not bad. Martell Hughes, 2 interceptions, not bad for a linebacker. Zarius Feseu. Didn't do much. Ramir Davis. Jugo transfer. Owen Long. So this guy, I think he's going to stand out for their defense. He had 151 total tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. So he could be a leader. He could definitely be a leader. He's 6'2", 230. I think he's a tackle machine. They need that. He definitely could be a leader in that defense. Because their front seven's very weak. I like Owen Long, though, a lot. I watched like one or two Colorado State games. He stood out. Rodney Brench. Let's look at their secondary. Not the greatest numbers here. Caleb Chester. So he's a redshirt freshman from Texas. He's got good size at 6'1". That's good for a corner. Lyric Rawls coming from Kansas. He had 1 interception and 7 pass deflections, 6'1". That's good size. That's strong safety. Anton Belgrave Shorter. Nothing much about him. Josiah McGrew. He had 4 picks. Played for Florida International, though. That's Conference USA. But he's got good size. At a safety, 6'2", 185. 5 pass deflections. Kyan McDonald. He'll probably play backup to them. Ashton Stamps. Coming from LSU, didn't do much. Joseph Smith. Adrian Wilson. 1 interception and 6 pass deflections. So he's an interesting guy. Their defense is going to be led by Owen Long. So the whole key with them is if Long can stay healthy, he's going to be the key to their defense. I like their receivers with Harris and Miller, but I don't. Sorry about the odds here. I'm going to exit out. But I don't know about Boley. I have a lot of questions about their QB position. And if you heard that, that was Declan. He's been doing this lately where he'll wake up in the middle of the night. It's sleep regression. We're still going to pull through here. But if he's crying for more than 15 minutes, that's my litmus test, basically. Then I'm going to go and change his diaper and take care of him. All right, so let's look at their schedule. I really like the receivers with Miller and Harris. But Boley, like I said before, he's an issue. Who was Harris? Yeah, Reed Harris and Amarion Miller. No, wait. Sorry, folks. I got to look at the roster again. Yeah, I was right. Amarion Miller and Reed Harris. So those two guys, Harris and Miller, they're the key to their offense. And then Owen Long is their key to their defense. But Boley's got to play good. I don't know, man. We'll see. All right, let's look at their schedule. We're going to cover Arizona next. And then we'll cover Iowa State. And lastly, Iowa State. Okay, so we got 2 more teams left. All right, so they start off with Morgan State. I don't even know where the heck that is. That's a win at Texas A&M. As much as I would like to pick Arizona State in that game, I think it's going to be a blowout. I'm picking Texas A&M. They're not at the same level as the Aggies, and they're playing at a tough place in Kyle Field. It's just going to be too much to handle. So I got them going 1-1 here. Versus Kansas, they'll beat them 2-1. Versus Baylor, they'll win that game, so they're 3-1. Versus Hawaii, that's a win, 4-1. At Texas Tech, that's a loss, 4-2. Versus Kansas State, that's a win, 5-1 or 5-2. I have them at 5-2. At BYU, that's a loss, 5-3. Versus Colorado, that's a win, 6-3. At UCF, this is a game that they should win, but I'm going to pick them to lose, so they'll be 6-4. Versus Oklahoma State, I have them winning that game, I think I picked them. Yeah, I picked them to win that game. So 7-4. And then lastly, at Arizona in a rivalry game, I got to look at Arizona's roster. Man, this is going to be tough because Arizona's QB, he's playing his last game at home there. Give me the Wildcats. So I have them going 7-5. I think their roster is just, there's a lot of question marks. Boley, I do like Harris and I like Miller as the receivers, but the running back position is weak. Their defense is not really that good except for Owen Long. And I don't know if he's going to do enough to help them out to win more than 7 games. So I got them going 7-5. I think that's reasonable. I don't think they're good, but I don't think they're bad either. They're kind of middle of the pack. And I like Dillingham. I really do, but I just don't see it with him. All right, speaking with having a successful year this year, he had a talented team 2 years ago, and now I might be wrong. He might develop Boley. The team could win 8 or 9 wins, but I don't see it. I like Oklahoma State's roster a lot more. Let's go over Arizona. So I have Arizona beating Arizona State in the last game of the season in terms of regular season. Arizona shocked a lot of people. They went They went 6-3 in the conference. They went 9-4, man. They had a nice season last season. They exceeded expectations. Their QB, he said that they could definitely play for a playoff position. I'm looking at Arizona Cardinals. All right, let's look at this roster. So they're led by not Jed Fish. He's coaching at Washington. Their coach is Brett Brennan. He did a great job last season. They exceeded expectations, like I said before. Noah Fahita, he is a leader. He had a great season last season. He's underrated, very undersized, but the guy is super talented. And I thought last year was his last season, but this is his last season. He's one of the better QBs in the nation when he's healthy, and he's one of the better QBs in the Big 12. And if you look at his stats, he played really well against SMU, played really good against Arizona State, played excellent against Colorado. I mean, who didn't? Struggled against Iowa State, and he played pretty good against Oklahoma State. So I think Noah is a very talented QB. He's just got to stay healthy. He's gotten hurt before, and he is very, very confident that they could play for a playoff spot. Very inspiring, but I just don't see it. Kendrick Rosenio is their running back. He had an okay season, 9 touchdowns. That's a lot, but only 396 yards rushing. That's not going to cut it as a number 1 running back. But they're more of a pass-first offense, so they're not going to really run the ball a lot. Quincy Gregg, I actually didn't watch any of their games, so he'll compliment him. 364 yards rushing. Antoine Roberts, 512 yards rushing. He's coming from Marshall. Let's look at their wide receivers. Trey Spivey. Spivey is a talented receiver. He had 7 touchdowns and 381 yards. Jordan Ross, he's transferring from Colorado State. Didn't do much there. If you hear sounds, that's the refrigerator. Chris Hunter, he played decent last season with 2 touchdowns and 372 yards receiving. DJ Jordan, coming from USC. See how he does. Giovanni Richardson in the slot. He had 299 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Rodney Gallagher, the third, coming from West Virginia. I totally forgot about this guy, honestly. They have a new center. Let's look at their tight ends. Cole Rusk, coming from Illinois. Okay numbers. He's more of a blogging tight end, I guess. Tyler Powell. Nothing about him. Alfred Ban. About him. Yeah, so their offense is okay. They don't really have any running back to rely on, which is going to be a problem. But it seems to me that Noah knows how to throw to his receivers. He'll pass first. He's not a run first QB. How many yards rushing did Noah have? 216 and 3 touchdowns. I thought he had more than that. I thought he was like 400 yards rushing. Let's look at this defense, a 3-3-5. Trey Smith. He's coming from San Jose State. Dominic Lasalo, 1 sack. Kevin Moore, the second. Leroy Palou had half a sack. Their defense does not stand out to me so far. Zach Silapole is from Australia. Wow. Yeah, you get occasionally these Australian recruits here and there. Mays Peace, I think that's how you say it. He's the defensive end. There's no stats about him. Their front seven's not good. I'm telling you that right now. Julian Salavinier, I think that's how you say it. 1 sack. Chase Kennedy. Yeah, the front seven's weak. Kennedy's good. He had 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He's probably their leader on defense. But he's a linebacker. Next, Cooper Blomstrom. I didn't even know Georgetown even had a football. Tay Brown. Actually, check that. Little tangent here. I worked with a guy who was, I think he was the backup QB, or maybe he was the starting QB at Georgetown. I think he was the backup QB at Georgetown, but we worked at a camp a long time ago. This was back in like 2013, 2014, one of those years. Tay Brown had 1.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception. Marion Robinson. Everett Rawsaw, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Jabari Mann. Yeah, they're linebackers. They have a ton of transfers. He had 1 sack and 1 interception. Tyrese Boss. 5 pass deflections. Zari Watson. Malcolm Hartzog. 1 pass deflection, 1 interception. Not much to say. Lee Motley III. 1 interception, 3 pass deflections. Yeah, their their safeties are weak. Dalen Austin, he's coming from Oregon. Nothing much there. Cam Chapa, Northern Colorado. Javion Cole, he had 4 interceptions, 5'10", 181. So he's one of their leaders. Dwight Booty, Oh, do I bottle? My apologies. I misread that. Nothing much about bottle. Gavin Hunter, one interception. You get good size at 6'2", 207. And last but not least, Dejon Hinton. Got a lot of freshmen on this team, too. I'm not impressed by this roster, to be honest with you. I really don't like their defense. I do think Noah's a great QB, but there are question marks on defense all over the place. Let me look at their schedule. So we have two more teams to cover after this. We have Iowa State, which I'm going to cover last. Or is there? I'm messing up here. Actually, no, Iowa State's the last team we have to cover. I'm exhausted, folks. It's been a long day. Yeah, so they finished fourth in the Big 12 last season, which was overachieving. I don't think they're going to replicate that this season. I think they're going to regress. I don't think they're going to win 9 games. Let's look at their schedule. Northern Arizona, that's a win, so they're 1-0. At BYU, that's a loss, 1-1. Versus Northern Illinois, that's a win, 2-1. At Washington State, you know what? I'm going to go in with a loss in that one. So I got them going 2-2. I just don't think they're going to win that game. I don't know why. I think that's a trap game. Versus Cincinnati, it's a home game. That's a win, 3-2. At West Virginia, I just don't like this roster for West Virginia. I don't like Arizona's roster, but if I had to pick between the two, give me Arizona. It'll be a close game, though. So now they're at 4-2 versus Iowa State. That will be a win, 5-2. At Texas Tech, that's a loss, 5-3. Versus TCU, I think that's a loss, 5-4. Versus Utah, I think that's a loss, 5-5. At Kansas State, I think I picked Kansas State in that game, so that's a loss, 5-6. And then versus Arizona, I think they'll win that game. I think they're a 6-6 team. There's nothing that really stands out to me. And it's like I said before, Noah can only do so much as their QB. And maybe they could prove me wrong. They could win 7 or 8 games. I just don't see it. I don't think they're talented, especially on defense. There's a lot of question marks. There's not enough talent on their defensive line. There's not enough talent on their secondary. So that's going to prove to be a problem. And again, I just don't like this schedule for them. I don't think they're going to win more than 6 games. So I have them going 6-6. And then last but not least, Iowa State. Man, oh man, they are going to have a hard time winning games this season with all those guys leaving for the portal to join Matt Campbell over at Happy Valley. And we're going to cover some Big 12 teams either tomorrow or Thursday. I'm trying to get the whole Big 12 done this week because next week I'm going to Ohio with my wife and my son, and we're going to be there for 10 days. I don't think I'm going to do any content over there. Strictly just, spending time with my family. It's a vacation, and we're celebrating his first birthday, which is not in July. It's in September, but because my in-laws, they have a nice house over there, we figured, all right, we're going to do his birthday party in Ohio. So I'm going to be out of town from July 1st to July 11th. And then I think July 12th, I'll probably cover and go over the Big Ten. Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll go over the Big Ten first, and then we'll go over the SEC. And then I'll cover the little conferences after that. And then, guys, we're approaching the season. Before you know it, it's going to be week 0, and I can't wait for that. All right, so now we go on to Iowa State. The Cyclones lost a lot of guys to the transfer portal. They had some guys return, not many. Jimmy Rogers is their head coach. Let me look at this roster, man. It's basically all transfers. And Jimmy Rogers, he coached, I'm looking this up online. He was the head coach he was the head coach at Washington State. I was going to say that name sounds familiar. And with Washington State last season, he went, let's see, 6-6. That's not saying much. It's not good, but it's not great. So this is a huge overhaul of new players. Jalen Raynor is I presume he's going to be the starting QB for them. He played previously before at Arkansas State, which is a Sun Belt team. His completion percentage is good. He's got a lot of yards. He's gotten better every season, but this is a huge change of pace. He's going from the Sun Belt over to the Big 12. He could prove people wrong, maybe, but I just don't see it. Sorry about the ads. I got to go and exit out of this. I don't even know what the heck that is. He's dual threat. He rushed for 423 yards with 7 touchdowns. The problem with him is interceptions. He had 11 picks last season. He has to definitely improve upon that. But I would have to believe he's going to be the starter for them. Ironically enough, he played against Iowa State. That's crazy. Didn't play good against Arkansas. And then the guy competing with him is Zane Flores, transferred from Oklahoma State. I would give it to Raynor. I don't think this guy's going to win the job. Let's look at the running backs. Cameron Petaway. He's coming from Bowling Green. 0 touchdowns. Well, he had 2 receiving touchdowns. That's all right. Saladin Allah. He rushed for 71 yards at Oregon State. That's not saying much. Let's look at their receivers. Cody Jackson, Tarleton State. That's what I'm saying. There are a lot of no-names on this team. Evan Bode came from Michigan State, didn't do much. He's got good size at 6'3". Carter Paps. He's coming from Washington State, so he joins Jimmy Rogers here. Dominic Overby. He'll probably win that position. 6'5", 200. He's got good size. Amari Hayes, coming from Tulane. Decent numbers, not great, not bad. Jordan Bailey. Nothing much to write about. Yeah, I'm not impressed with their receiving core. Tight ends Tyler Fortenberry. He's coming from Arkansas State. Decent numbers. Christian Greenlaw. Yeah, they got a lot of JUCO guys. Let's look at this defense. Oh, so ton of transfers. The whole secondary is all transfers. Malachi Tiez, 2.5 sacks. He's coming from Washington State. Caden Crawford, coming from Iowa, 5 sacks last season, so he could be decent. I don't know if he had those numbers at South Dakota or in Iowa. Zamir Hawk, nothing much about him. Jared Ramos, coming from Montana. Isaac Terrell, 7 sacks, also coming from Washington State. So you got a lot of guys coming from the Cougars. Jack Janikowski, he had 1 sack, also from Washington State. Montrez Smith Jr., 3 interceptions, but he's coming from Austin Peay, or whatever you call it. Willie Breland, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, an JUCO guy. Sullivan's Schelling, I think that's how you say it. Also another transfer. Tristan Exini, Exile, X-Line. Sorry if I'm botching these last names. Carson Willich, nothing much about him. Bo Goodwin, nothing much about him. Their defense is weak. I still think they'll beat West Virginia. Jaheim Singletary. This team is not good, man. This fly's coming back at me. David Coffey. Drew Surges. He had 2 forced fumbles, 2 pass deflections, and 1 interception. One of the few guys from last season that came back. Demarius Russell. Also from Washington State. Go over their safeties. Oh, their secondary. Braden Alls. He had 5 interceptions. That's not bad. But again, he's coming from Akron. That's a MAC action team. Duran Goodman. Much about him. Keon Washington, coming from Bowling Green. He actually was a transfer from West Virginia. I did not know about him. Seth Johnson, another guy from Montana State. Mekhi Harper, BYU. I guess he played in 2024, did not play last season. I guess he got hurt. And Malcolm Jones. Yeah, this team's not good. Rayner, I think, is going to be okay, but don't expect them to win a lot of games. I have them losing a lot. I think they'll win some games at home because Ames is a hard place to play. It's not easy. Because you lose everybody to the transfer portal. Everybody's going to Happy Valley with Campbell. So they got to start off with a new roster, basically. They have like 3 or 4 guys coming back. Not much. All right, let's go over the schedule. So Southern Missouri State, that's a win. At Iowa, I think the Hawkeyes are going to kill them. I think Iowa's underlooked or overlooked. Yeah, they're overlooked in the Big Ten. I think they're a better team than Iowa State. I know Iowa State beat them last season, but that was a different team from this season. So they're 1-1. Versus Bowling Green. I'll pick Iowa State because it's a home game, but that's going to be close. Don't be surprised if Bowling Green pulls off the upset. But give me the Cyclones, so they're 2-1. Versus Utah, that's a loss, 2-2. Versus West Virginia, that's a win, 3-2. At BYU, that's a loss, 3-3. At Arizona, that's a loss, 3-4. Versus Oklahoma State, that's a loss, 3-4. At Baylor, that's a loss, 3-5. At versus Cincinnati, I have them winning that game, I think. So 4-5. At UCF, that's a loss, 4-6. I got mixed up with their schedule here. And then versus Kansas State, that's a loss. So let me see how many games I picked them to win, and I got the correct win and loss record here. 1, 2. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think they're going to go 4-8. They could go 3-9, 2-10 even. But I'll be generous. I'll say 4-8 because I think Ames is a really tough place to play. I think that's the only reason why I would pick them to go 4-8. I still think they're going to beat West Virginia. I think that's a game that's a trap game for West Virginia. And Rayner is talented. I mean, he's not going to be the problem really, but he doesn't have a lot of talent around him, and that's going to prove to be a problem for this roster. So far, we've gone over these teams in the Big 12. Texas Tech I got going 11-1. West Virginia 3-9. Cincinnati 4-8. BYU 10-2. Kansas State 9-3. Baylor 4-8. Oklahoma State 9-3. Arizona State 7-5. Arizona 6-6. And Iowa State just now 4-8. Tomorrow or Thursday, probably more likely Thursday because I got a late game from a men's league hockey team. We're going to cover, I'll write this down so don't forget, Houston, UCF, Utah. Totally forgot about Utah. I think Utah will have a good season. Who else? I gotta look up Big 12 teams and see the ones I didn't cover yet. Colorado. Kansas. I'm thinking there's one more. TCU. I think that's it. Yeah. Because I'm looking at this list. I covered Arizona just now. I covered Arizona State. I covered Baylor. Covered BYU yesterday. I covered Cincinnati yesterday. Covered Iowa State just now. Covered Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and West Virginia. So we covered 6 teams today. We covered 4 teams yesterday. So we have those last 6 remaining: Houston, UCF, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, and TCU. Guys, thank you so much. Again, comment, like, and subscribe. We're at 8 followers or 8 subscribers. I want to push that up to 50 by the season starts. So tell your friends, tell your colleagues. We love doing content, and I want to keep doing content. The more subscribers, the better. And if we could get monetization by year's end or even next year, I would be greatly appreciated. Again, I'm just a regular guy covering these games, non-biased. I'm not going to go and say, oh, West Virginia's, favored to win this game or Florida State. No, I'm real with y'all. I'll tell you, I got my 2 schools going 3-9, and I know the favorites from the underdogs. So again, comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you guys. That was the end of episode 12. Episode 13 will be either dropped Friday or Saturday morning. We'll figure it out. I don't know if I'm going to record tomorrow. Like I said before, I got a late game. But again, comment, like, and subscribe, and peace out.